Culture before the Prophet Muhammad. The culture, society, and beliefs of the people of Mecca in the 6th and 7th centuries CE, a period known in Islamic history as the Jahiliyyah ignorance. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you, and welcome back to the Abrahamic Dialogue. I'm your host Ibrahim, and today we are traveling back in time, over 1400 years, to explore the world into which the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born. We're focusing on the culture of the people of Mecca just before the advent of Islam, a period often known as the Jahiliyyah, or the Age of Ignorance. The word Jahiliyyah might suggest complete savagery, but the reality was far more complex. It was a dynamic society with a rich, refined culture, yet one also grappling with profound moral and spiritual crises. We'll break down their economic engine, their unique religious beliefs, and their code of honor. Before we begin our historical exploration, please take a moment to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into history and faith, and share this lesson with others who want to understand the origins of Islam. Your support is greatly appreciated. Mecca, the crossroads of commerce. First, let's understand Mecca's primary identity, a commercial hub. Geographically, Mecca was in a dry, barren valley lacking agricultural resources. Its wealth, and thus its power, came entirely from trade. Mecca sat at a crucial point on the incense route, a network of trade that moved valuable goods, like spices, incense from Yemen, and textiles between the fertile south and the wealthy empires of the north, Byzantium and Persia. The city was controlled by the powerful tribe of Quraysh. They were shrewd merchants who established alliances and secured treaties, guaranteeing the safe passage of caravans. Their control of this commerce created enormous wealth, transforming Mecca from a simple settlement into a powerful, financially driven city-state. This economic power was the source of their immense political and social clout. The religious landscape, polytheism and the Kaaba. Mecca was not just a commercial center, it was also a spiritual nucleus for the entire Arabian Peninsula. The heart of its religious life was the Kaaba. While the Meccans acknowledged a supreme creator god, whom they called Allah, the god, their worship was heavily polytheistic. They believed that various gods and goddesses acted as intercessors with Allah. The Kaaba housed nearly 360 idols, each representing a tribal deity. Three of the most prominent goddesses were Al-Lat, Al-Uzza. The Quraysh benefited financially from this system, as the annual pilgrimage, Hajj, brought numerous tribes to Mecca, generating massive revenue through trade and offerings. Their worship involved rituals, sacrifices, and circumambulation, many of which were corrupted versions of the original monotheistic rites established by Abraham. Social structure, tribe, blood, and honor. Society in Mecca was rigidly structured, resting entirely on the concepts of tribe, blood, and honor. Tribe, Qabila, and clan, Hera, these were the sole units of social identity and security. You were defined by your lineage. Asabaible loyalty. This was the overriding moral code. It meant unconditional support for one's clan, regardless of whether they were right or wrong. Asabiya was the glue that held the desert society together, but it also fueled cycles of violence. Muru'ah, manliness or honor. This was the ideal ethical code for the elite. Muru'ah required traits like bravery in battle, loyalty to the tribe, protection of the weak within the tribe, and, crucially, boundless generosity, karim. A man's standing was constantly judged by his adherence to this fierce code of honor. The rule of law, protection and vengeance. Because there was no centralized government or judicial system, the only thing that guaranteed one's safety was social standing and tribal protection. If a member of a powerful tribe was wronged, the entire tribe rose to defend them. If justice was not served, the tribe initiated a blood feud, qisas, a cycle of retaliatory killings that could last for generations. The only way to stop it was through negotiated settlement involving blood money. If you were a foreigner, a slave, or a member of a weak clan, you had virtually no rights and no protection. This lack of centralized, impartial law meant that the wealthy and powerful could often operate with impunity, while the vulnerable were constantly exploited. Poetry and language, the pinnacle of culture. If there was one area where the people of Mecca achieved a refined and sophisticated culture, It was poetry and language. The Arabic language, Fusha, was viewed as the greatest art form. Poets were the media, historians, moralists, and propagandists of the time. They were highly esteemed, and their verses were remembered and recited throughout the peninsula. Their ability to compose complex, moving, and eloquent verses was a source of immense tribal pride. Annual poetic competitions were held at markets like Ukaz, where winning verses, the famous mu'allaqat or hanging odes, were transcribed in gold ink and literally hung inside the Kaaba. The Quraysh viewed themselves as the uncontested masters of this tradition, making the sheer eloquence of the Quran when it arrived all the more miraculous to them. The marginalized, women, slaves, and the poor. Beneath the veneer of muru'ah and poetic eloquence were significant social injustices, which Islam would later directly confront. Women generally held a subordinate legal and social position. While some women enjoyed high status, especially among the elite, the cruel practice of female infanticide was alarmingly common. The birth of a daughter was seen as an economic and tribal liability, leading some families to bury newborn girls alive. Slavery was widespread, with slaves having no rights and enduring horrific conditions. The poor. Crucially, the rise of commercial wealth led to a breakdown in traditional tribal ethics. The rich often neglected their duty of care, leaving the poor, widows, and orphans vulnerable. The economic system, controlled by a powerful few, created vast social inequality. External influences and monotheistic fringes. While Arabia was relatively isolated, it was not entirely cut off. To the north were the great powers, the Byzantine and Sasanian Zoroastrian empires. Within Arabia itself, there were pockets of Judaism, especially in Yathrib, later Medina, and Christianity, particularly in Yemen and parts of the north. Additionally, there were the Hanifs, a small, influential group of Arab monotheists who rejected the idol worship of the Quraysh, seeking to follow what they believed was the original pure faith of Abraham. This presence shows that while polytheism was dominant, the seeds of monotheism were already circulating in the Arabian consciousness. The stage is set. The Mecca into which Prophet Muhammad p.b.u.h. brought his message was a place of dramatic contrasts. It was a city of immense wealth and grinding poverty, of sophisticated linguistic art and barbaric social practices, of deep loyalty to the tribe and a profound spiritual confusion. The Prophet's message challenged the very foundations of this society, its economic power, its tribal exclusivity, asabiyyah, and its idolatrous beliefs. Understanding this rich, complicated culture is essential to understanding the radical transformation that Islam would bring. We've looked closely at the foundations of Meccan society before Islam. What aspect of the Jahiliyyah culture, the role of poetry, the power of asabiyyah, or the economic structure, did you find the most surprising or significant? Please share your thoughts and reflections in the comment section below. If you found this historical context insightful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the Abrahamic Dialogue for more historical explorations, and share this video with others. Thank you for joining me. Peace be upon you.